Hello again, you join me in my workshop shed. Early last year, I made a desk for my granddaughter and I made it out of two pieces of 8 by 4 foot MDF. Now, I made it without using nails or screws, just using glue and a router. Well, the reason why I only used a router and glue is just to see if it could be done. That's why I didn't use nails or screws. The footage I've got from this is very limited. I wasn't planning on putting it on YouTube at the time. If I did think that, I would have probably put more effort into it. There's a lot of parts that are actually missed out and got footage of, but hopefully you get the idea. Before I started building this desk, I laid it out, I did a drawing of each section, and to get all the sections fit into two pieces of 8 by 4 foot MDF. Unfortunately, I've lost them drawings now, but you get an idea of what I'm trying to do when you see the video. I thought it was easier to get the 8 by 4 foot sheets cut at the local DIY store because it's free and it saves getting my table saw out. I would have preferred now to have done it with plywood. Reason being, the dust coming from MDF is horrific. It's bad for your health anyway. When I was making it, I used my vacuum, but I didn't have a dust extraction unit or dust air filter unit. I plan on getting one of them soon. I had the doors open and did as much as I could to avoid the dust getting into my lungs. I used a good respirator, but unless I've got a really good system set up, I won't do an MDF again. I noticed a YouTube friend of mine, Loz at Grandpa's Workshop, he's just bought a record air filter system, pretty much the one I want to get actually. So go and have a look at Loz's YouTube channel. I'll put the link below. Just tell him Rob at Weekend Shedhead send you along, and I'm sure it'll make his day. Anyway, let's get on with this video. So here's the label for the MDF I'm using, 12mm thick, 8 by 4 foot, and I had it cut at the local DIY store. 2 sheets. So here they are laid out on the floor, and while I was at the DIY store, I decided to label each of them up with a letter, just to make it easier when I got back, which bit goes where. There we go, labelled D on that section. And then when I got back, I labelled them up correctly, i.e. the side panels for the cabinets. And the plan is to have 2 cabinets with 2 drawers in each, and then a plastic box underneath with a lid. Okay, so next step was to mark up for the router cuts. Now these were really for a guide. I'd already got my measurements lined up, but it was a bit of a trial and error when I started to offer each section up to another. And there's me just labelling up where the back part of the upright is for when I'm assembling. So here we are at my makeshift workbench, and I clamped a piece of MDF on top, 2 G-clamps, one either side, just to hold the right position. Now I used a 12mm bit on this, router bit, but the MDF wouldn't fit, which will become clear in a minute. So what I used was a strip of masking tape along that edge, just to give it another pass. At this point I'd not cut another pass, and there we are, cutting the other pass there. And that gnat's whisker was just enough to let that panel slide in there. That's actually the bottom panel of the cabinet going in there, so just driving it home just to test fit first of all, and it, as you can see, fits really snug. So clamping down again for, this is for the shelf for the bottom drawer. And as you can see, the amount of dust that comes from MDF, I mean, it's horrific. My vacuum was just enough to cope with it, but and I think actually this is my old vacuum I'm using here, and it packed up halfway through. So I think next time if I did it, I would use plywood. MDF can be quite hazardous, very hazardous in fact, and I used a really good respirator the whole time I built this, and vacuumed everything afterwards. So I'm just trial fitting that section as well. And as you can see there, I decided to make the drawer more of a gap, so I went off the original measurement. So this part here is for the underside of the bottom panel, which will become clear in the video. So just giving it a second pass with a bit of masking tape on there. So there's both panels for the first cabinet. And again, just test fitting each panel. And these really drove home well, and they were really snug, even without the glue. So I put the bottom panel in on one side, one upright, and then two on the other upright, with the hope of slotting them together. So I knocked them in place just to make sure everything fit together, and squared it up as well to make sure everything was lined up. As I say, I've got limited footage on this, so I would, now if I was doing the video, I'd made it a bit more clearer, and there's a lot of things I've missed out. So these are the tubs I used, a box with a lid, just test fitting, make sure it fitted okay. So here I'm gluing up now. Gluing up this cabinet first, just to make sure everything was right, and then I went on to the next cabinet. Ideally I should have built them both together, but it was a bit of a trial and error, like I say, so I used the measurements from this one to translate to the other cabinet. So there it was, all clamped up. You may have seen my other video of my workshop tour. I'll put a link below, but this is at the workshop before I did the extension, so have a look when you get a chance. Thanks. So I'm just routering off the edges now of the cabinets, just so there's no sharp edges. And test fitting the worktop, which I routed as well around the edges. And then next onto the supports, well, the braces if you like, so one at the front, one at the rear, and then two underneath as well. That's the glue I used. And just knocked it into place. Well, just slid it into place actually. It was the rear one that I had to knock in. There we go. Flip it over for the underside. Just to say, these braces, I cut them down from them long strips you may have seen at the beginning of the video when I laid them out on the floor. I think if I was making a unit or a desk that was going to get a lot of hammer, I would have probably made it, well, a lot more substantial, but I say it's just a girl's desk, and she's been using it now for over a year without any problems. Nothing's fell off anyway. powering up the second cabinet. And just knocking it back into place. Just clamping those two braces. So next on to the drawers. So I made this jig here. Well, there's the side panels for the drawers. I made a jig so that I could put masking tape on one side of the drawer sides, bit of masking tape on the workbench, and then some hot glue in between the two, just to fix it in place while I routed the edge off, which will become clear in a second. There we go. And then the good thing about masking tape, you can just take it straight off. And then just test fitting on the base of the drawer. There are all the sides, 8, yeah, there's 4 drawers, so 8 in total. And then the front and the rear of the drawer. Same principle. Now on the rear of the drawer, I just clamped it in between, but on the front edge, there we go, I did a little rebate the router, just so it was a neater finish from the leading edge, front edge of the drawer. Now I'll just trying it out. There they are, all glued up, clamped up. Ran out of clamps, so I just used some bungee cord. It worked. Now I used some scrap bits of wood here just to make a guide for the top edge of the drawer to stop it from lifting vertically. So there's 2 pieces there, and then there we are, the scrap bits of wood, just so it guides in like a runner. And then just routering the edges of the drawers. Now these are just stoppers for the back of the drawers. This is the rear side of the cabinet. Again, they've held okay. The good thing about these drawers is that they can be slid out completely, and then you can use them as trays or to get to crayons or pens or whatever that are at the back of the drawer. I used a larger sander for the majority of it, but just for the little edges I used a triangle sander, as you can see there. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you want to put any comments below, please feel free to do so. I'm not an expert, this is just my hobby, just things I do from home in my workshop shed. And like I say, if you give me a thumbs up, that'd be great. And if you want to see more videos, please subscribe. They are all sanded up, drawers all sanded, and then just a test fit. Say as well, I learnt a lot from making this desk, and there's a lot of mistakes I made, ideas that I've got for other projects, but overall I was happy with the results. onto the paint. In total, I think I give it about 3 coats. Tiny little roller and a small paintbrush to get into the corners. If you notice, I didn't paint the shelves because the drawers will be sliding on top of those. And I think the finish was a satin finish. Brilliant white, of course. So there's all drawers painted up. I actually painted the inside of those drawers in the end as well. I was going to line them, but it didn't work out that well, so I thought I'd just paint them, it'll be fine. I actually painted them white first and then spray paint them. So here's the spray paint, like a pastel pink colour. Thought it'd be better to paint the white first and then spray over the top, and then I wouldn't need as many coats of spray paint. So there they are, the 2 cabinets done, well, almost done. Next on to the mock-up. There we go. As you can see, I've painted inside the drawers as well, pink. Now here I used some 1 inch, I think it was 1 inch by, or 25mm by 40mm piece of pine, just to make the framework so I could fix it to the wall. And they're the drawer handles. So one more last mock-up. And there it is installed. I actually screwed it directly to the wall, and then to fix it to the cabinets I used little plastic right angle connectors, screwed them in, which worked fine. And there it is with all her paraphernalia set up on there. So I hope you enjoyed that video. You may have got something out of it, you may not. I'm not an expert, this is just my hobby. DIY is my hobby. It's a shame I still haven't got the drawings from when I built the desk, but hey-ho. It was tailored to fit specific for my granddaughter and to fit the corner of her bedroom. Always get advice if you're unsure about anything. Like I say, if you want to ask any questions, please put them in the comments below. Please give it a thumbs up, and if you want to see more videos like this, please subscribe. Thanks for watching, take care, cheers.